Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm so pleased to be joined by Joel Kim Booster, a two-time Emmy Award nominee who plays Nicholas on the Apple TV Plus comedy series Loot, the loyal assistant to Maya Rudolph's billionaire Molly Wells. Joel, season 2 of the show is so good. I find it feels like a real leap forward, even from a very good first season. Did you, and especially for Nicholas too? I think it just is so much sharper and funnier, punchier. Did you guys feel that right away coming into
Oh,
season
yeah.
2?
I think so. I think our show required a bit of setup in season one, just to sort of lay the groundwork and sort of the platform for a lot of the jokes we got to do in season two. And listen, I think like Matt and Alan, the kind of comedy that they came from and came up in, Parks and Rec, 30 Rock, etc. Um, it is like it benefits from a large 22 episode season order, and I think like our show could really handle that as well. I think like the kind of comedy that it is, I could see, it is very similar and spiritually to those shows. And gosh, I wish we had that many episodes. That'd be great.
See, as a viewer, yeah, same. I guess it's fun. Also, the other thing is the show is like you were just saying there, it is really funny. It definitely recalls obviously those kind of shows that they came from, like Parks and Rec or The Office or any of these those classic kind of sitcoms. I think that people really love. I mean, is at the risk of sounding I don't know, not reductive, but is it fun? Is it great to be on a show that's like a comedy show that's actually very funny? I guess.
Um, no, definitely. I think like the uh it is very nice to be on a show with jokes and that allows us to add our own little spins on the comedy as well. And it's a very playful set and they give us a lot of freedom. Even if we don't really need it sometimes because it's all there on the page.
So I wrote down just a million Nick. I was rewatching the season before this, and man, I was writing down oh, these are great lines that Joel gets to say, and then I was just basically transcribing the show because I find everything you're doing is so funny. And I guess I'm sure it's kind of a tired question, but you were just saying there, in terms of the freedom, how there are so many funny one-liners and so many great jokes, especially for you. I mean, all the ensemble is great, but I think you're very, very funny, and Nicholas has great, just punchy one-liners. Is that a mix of what's on the page, or how much are you able to throw stuff out there that kind of gets onto the show, like that kind of thing?
Um, they usually listen, we always do a couple takes as scripted. And then they're very good about saying like, okay, this one is, have fun with it. And I always try and take as much advantage of that as possible. I think I'm really proud of the amount of ad libs and one-liners that have made it on. They're very generous with me in that regard, and it's just fun. I think more so than improv. I think I look at the scene that we're doing that day, and my writer brain immediately kicks in, and I think I'm always trying to write something even more specifically Nicholas in that moment. So yeah, and I'm really grateful to be on a set like that because it's not always like that. And I think for someone like me, it makes going to work every day even that much more exciting. Knowing that I work for people who respect my own creative energy going into the character.
Do you have a favorite? I mean, I'm sure it's asking pick a favorite, but do you have a favorite of one that you remember that was oh man, that's really funny? It's weird to maybe explain a joke, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a couple. I think Dick Doc I was really proud of as an insult as a line this year when I'm screaming at Ainsley's aunt, and then most recently in the finale, a good portion of the drug run was and my drug dealer being a woman was something that I added. I think bump I want to bump in the road is something that I threw in at the end of Maya's line. And yeah, there's a couple of things in the finale that I was really proud of that made it in.
I was particularly tickled in the finale. I think it's I'm sorry I'm getting so emotional, but The Shape of Water was so bad. How did it win an
No,
Oscar?
that I cannot take credit for, but I'm not. And I'm, you know, I'm not even sure I can endorse, but that is definitely a vendetta coming from the writers' room.
Very, very funny. And your delivery of it is just perfect. So even if you can't take credit for it, the execution of that is a fantastic joke. And I agree. I don't think it's not necessarily endorsed, but it is very, very
Yeah.
funny and like good. Yeah, it's such a funny show. But I mean, obviously, like there's so much development with Nicholas this season in terms of his like family. We get to see so much backstory about him. And I know that in your that kind of mirrors a little bit your actual life, like with your adopted parents and stuff. How like when that was broached, I guess, like how did you feel that they were going to take Nicholas in that direction?
You know, it's funny. It really, I just kind of opened the door for it, and they went for it. At the early stages of writing season 2, they asked me if I wanted my parents to be Asian or if I wanted my character to be adopted. And, you know, at that stage, I knew what the episode sort of shape was, and I liked that it was incidental. At least at the start of the season, you know, there's no that episode is not about me being adopted. It's never addressed that I am, you know, my parents show up, they're white, and the audience is sort of smart enough to figure that out. Um, how that family came to be, and I really appreciated that aspect of it. And then as we moved into the season and it became sort of this reoccurring um, issue for Nicholas, I was really appreciative of how sensitive they were um, to me in that regard. Like, there were definitely things I think in early drafts of some of those episodes that I was like, I don't know if I want to explore this with Nicholas. I especially they were very sensitive to understanding that like people would conflate my own story and my own relationship to my adoption and Nicholas's. And so I think they were really great about, you know, treating it very respectfully and while crafting a story that made sense for Nicholas. And I think that really, for me, made it the character a lot more exciting to play. You know, I have been called in to be a lot of gay assistants in my day and continue to be, and would continue to like to book them because I love to work, but they're not always the most exciting characters on the page. And I think even Nicholas in season 1, you know, we worked together, Matt Allen and I, to make sure that he didn't seem like a caricature. And there were things about him that, you know, sort of set him apart from the that crop of characters that we've seen so many years on TV. But this season, I think that we did even more to sort of help the audience understand why Nicholas is the way he is and why he has these walls built up and why he's a little bit hesitant to connect with people. Um, and that was really exciting for me as an actor.
And then you get, I love that about that. I think that's great. And I think your performance is great. So like we're saying, you are very, very funny, but there are like dramatic beats and stuff that you're hitting and these kind of emotional things that really land. I think, A, because we like have known the character now, like you were saying, for 20 episodes or whatever it's been between seasons 1 and 2. But I guess also, I think in your terms of performance is really great. Do you feel like, I mean, do you feel like you're getting, are you getting better at playing Nicholas? I guess, would that like feel like, do you feel like that at all?
I'm getting it better at finding I'm getting better at finding the differences between myself and Nicholas. I think that is how I would put that, because I think in season 1, like, I mean, I got the breakdown for this audition, and it was like snarky, gay, um, like Asian guy from Indiana, and I was like, well, if I don't book this, then we need to reconsider what I'm doing in Hollywood, because like this is tailor made for me. And as it turns out, you know, I worked with Matt on my very short-lived NBC sitcom Sunnyside, and they did write the part with me in mind. They sort of wrote it with me as the blueprint. And so it really was one of those situations where it was like all I had to do was not fuck up the audition, and the part would be mine. And so I think I went into season 1 really just sort of playing an exaggerated version of my stage persona in a lot of ways. And this season, it felt a little bit more like I was crafting a brand new character that, you know, had a lot more differences and um, quirks than I do, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think, yeah, like you just feel that watching it. I think too, it is really great. You get also a lot of, obviously, the Nicholas Molly relationship is so it's just foundational to the show, and certainly Nicholas as well, and also Molly. I think they're really great together. I know you've obviously talked a lot about how you were such a fan of Maya Rudolph before even enjoying the show, and like kind of now getting to work with her. I guess I was like watching the season. It was fun watching her. I felt like Maya with Anna Gasteyer, because I'm like, oh, she's so great with her, and obviously that. But I'm like, man, Joel and Maya together. I feel like Maya's had so many great scene partners, but man, you guys are like up there for me on the list of like great Maya tandems, right? I just think you're really great together. And I guess like again, like evolving that relationship more in season 2. But I mean, how is that like change for you on screen, I guess, and off with Maya? Like, how are you guys like kind of working together?
I mean, it's really such a pleasure to get to work with her and such an honor. And I say this all the time, but I learned so much from her in every scene. I think about, especially about like taking big risks and taking big swings comedically. Because I'm a very cerebral comedian, I think, in a lot of ways. And I think Maya operates from her gut. And that's been really, inspiring to watch and learn from. And I think like Maya off our relationship off camera is great. I mean, she's given me so much great advice about home improvement. I'm a new homeowner. But it's really easy breezy. I mean, for all of us, like that's the nice thing about our set is that like, Maya, I think a lot of people in her position, um, and I know this from personal experience, like once the cameras aren't rolling, she's in her trailer, they're in their trailer, they're number one on the call sheet. They can do whatever the fuck they want. But Maya's down in the trenches with us in her chairs, off wherever they have cast holding and is just, holding court or, letting us show her TikToks about, and it's really nice. It's really, really nice. And I think like part of it is Maya herself is so family oriented. Um, it's not a five nanny situation at the PTA Rudolph household. And so when you work for someone, and someone who's number one on the call sheet loves their family and wants to spend time with them, it really does affect the vibe on set in a really positive way. So yeah, I love going to work every day.
It's great. I mean, I think you could tell, like, just again from like the way the ensemble, all of you guys working together, it just feels like I guess you could fake that. I'm sure you're all very, like you said, you're a great actor. Everybody's a great actor, but it feels like that there is like an added like energy to the show. I think that you could tell you guys all get along and like vibe very much in this. All have the same vibe, I guess.
Yeah.
You also get to do a lot of stuff, Nicholas, this season with Ron, obviously, and I just I love that relationship too. I think their friendship is so I don't know. It feels like very, it feels like very surprising, I guess. And like, I love the culmination of that with the wrestling, fantastic, and getting to play Straight Arrow is that the character Nicholas is playing, right? Just great. Everything about that is fantastic. I guess can you talk about like that, how that relationship evolved, and like how you kind of like worked with Ron to make that
I
really
mean,
work.
it's always been really easy with Ron, to be honest. I think like I've known Ron for years through stand up. We've known each other through the stand up circuit and have always gotten along really great. We have a lot of similarly nerdy interests and things like that. So we've always been able to connect and so it made the transition of like having to jump right into being, best friends on the show like a lot easier. Um, and that wrestling stuff, I'm so proud of us for that because this show does not require a lot of homework, a lot of outside work. And that episode did. I mean, Ron has actually spent a lot of time training to be a professional wrestler in his free time and has done like actual professional wrestling gigs. Like that storyline is really pulled from his life. And I never have, obviously. And so it's really fun to get to work with. We worked with the guy who worked with the ladies of Glow to teach them how to wrestle. And it was only like a week's worth of training, but it was really fun, and I'm so glad I got to do it with Ron.
It's so great. How I mean, like a week's worth. I wouldn't even know where to start, I guess, to be a wrestler. I guess like where you're just like, oh, okay, I guess we're just doing this. Like it looks great. Obviously, you guys are really doing that. It's not like you're getting like it looks like you're really wrestling. I mean, it's like really good.
Thank you.
Was there one aspect of it that you were like, oh my God, is how like or stressed or biggest challenge in that?
I mean, the whole like, I'm not great at learning like choreography in general. As you know, I'm like physically dyslexic. It's very difficult for me to remember physical movements and dances and things like that. And so choreographing, like, I can't learn a dance. Like, you expect me to learn how to this like fight sequence. Like, I was very intimidated by that. But again, like, Ron made it really, like, as a partner in that, made it really easy, and like um really like grounded me a lot. And so yeah, it was really nice, and I was grateful to have Ron there for it.
Yeah. So obviously the season ends on like I guess a cliffhanger, I would say, or like we just have like you can't wait for season three, right? Obviously, we're gonna see Nicholas re-engaging with his birth mother, maybe and stuff. I guess like yeah, like what have you? Fingers crossed, obviously, that we get another season or maybe more. Like you were saying, I think this show could sustain like multiple episodes. Certainly, I would hope so. But I guess like what are you hoping for in season three in terms of like where Nicholas is going to develop?
I have a lot of hopes for Nicholas in season three. I think, I do. It would be interesting to be in Korea. It would be interesting to see him in Korea, and like, again, maybe he doesn't um, meet his mother, and maybe that is okay. And like, I think uh, there's a lot to that journey, and um this storyline really opened up a lot for me because it's something that I haven't even really explored in my own creative work. And so it's really a delicate sort of negotiation and balance, and of making sure that I feel like I am sort of being authentic about my own relationship to my adoption, while also making sure we're servicing character. And so I'm really excited, and I fully trust whichever direction they're going to take it in. I'd also I'd love to see Nicholas in a relationship, or at least like dating someone for real. I think like he's grown so much over the last two seasons, and it would be nice to see the kind of person that disarms Nicholas, and in that way, and that would be really exciting for me as well.
Yeah, it's a great show, and you're great on it. Obviously, Joel Kim Booster, star of the Apple TV comedy series, Apple TV Plus comedy series Loot. You can watch all the episodes now on Apple TV Plus, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for season three because you need to see what happens in season three. So, thank you so much, Joel, for doing this.
Thank you.